The balance of the game has got to be one of the most important things. And there's definitely some brawlers that are not exactly very balanced right now. So let's go over the 11 buffs and nerfs that I think Brawl Stars needs right now. Let's do it. By the way, I'm doing a giveaway stream right now, giving away all of these gift cards. I'm going to be on dlive.tv/Coach Cory. Go check it out. I'll be streaming for 2 hours. I'm live right now. Come by. All right, now I got 6 buffs and 5 nerfs that I think are really important to improve the balance in the game, but I would love to hear your opinion on what you think needs a balance change, buff or nerf the most, or even a rework, whatever you think is needed the most in the game. Let's start off with the buffs though. Got 6 of them. Starting off with Frank. Frank has been a brawler that is not very good for a long time, and there's a lot of brawlers that he just never matches up very well against. And I don't really feel like there's a great way to buff Frank in a lot of different ways. Like, he already has a ton of health. You could speed up his attack animation, but that might get kind of too overpowered. His super range is incredibly long. Giving him more damage probably wouldn't help that much. I think the only thing you can really do to make Frank a better brawler, or maybe the best thing, is to increase the range of his attack, his main attack. Now maybe you're thinking, Cory, that's gonna give him a super too often, but first of all, he's not a great brawler right now. And also, his attack takes so long to get multiple hits in on someone. You have so much time to run away by the time he fires that second swing that it shouldn't be that big of a deal. His attack would still be pretty slow, but I think if you buff that range by a tile, Frank would be in a lot better place. But the brawler that probably needs a buff the most might be Tarah. Tarah has also been a pretty mediocre brawler for a really long time. She's great in Brawl Ball and in Jump Grab depending on the map, but otherwise, pretty specific. She's kind of underwhelming. She's one of those brawlers where if you miss your super, oh man, you're having a bad time. So I think there's 2 potential ways you could buff Tarah to really put her in a good place. First of all, you could just straight up increase her health by like 10%. She has a pretty low amount of health for a brawler that wants to get in close range to deal the maximum amount of damage. So maybe you could increase her health and then she can be a little bit more aggressive, getting her super more often. But the other thing I think you do is you increase her reload speed by about 10%. Because if you ever miss your super, you're in a really bad place, as I was saying. So if you can make it easier to get her super back, I think that would be a really good way to just make Tarah a little bit more balanced and at least more usable and forgiving as well. Another brawler that needs a buff has got to be Darryl. He actually got a nerf last balance change for some reason, even though he's really not that strong of a brawler, so I don't know why he got a nerf. He definitely needs a buff. I would give him a health increase of about 8%. It's about 500 health for Darryl. I think this is good for Darryl because first of all, they nerfed his best star power, which is his rolling, or his shield, sorry, where he gets 25% damage reduction now, used to be 30. So either way, I think this health though, it helps out both star powers, and that's sort of why I think it's the best thing to do. And I also think if you want to stick with rolling reload, this is the way you buff Darryl to make rolling reload more usable. And at least this sort of buff helps out both star powers and not just one of them, or not just buffing one of the star powers. And it's kind of hard to buff rolling reload. This is probably the way to do it, and I think this helps out Darryl overall, especially too, hey, for those free-to-play players, this is a great thing for Darryl, right? Obviously, because it affects him whether you have that star power or not. Another brawler that's kind of fallen off lately is Pam. Pam used to be a super good brawler, but she's kind of just slid down and down and down, mostly because of a lot of the other brawlers she competes with have been getting buffs. Bo, Poco, even Penny as well has been getting stronger and stronger. So Pam, while she didn't get nerfed, she just sort of, you know, there were power spikes across the board and she didn't get one. So she's definitely not quite in a great place right now. I think she needs a buff. I think the best way to buff Pam is to increase the rate of fire of her main attack. I think this would be good for a couple reasons. One, she can now more consistently hit her shots, right? Instead of just hoping that you're hitting someone with that spray and pray tactic that you're gonna get something out of it. Make it a little bit faster. That way you know whether you're actually gonna hit someone or not, and if you have good aim, you're more rewarded for it. The other thing that does is it kind of increases her reload speed because her attack animation would be faster, so she starts reloading a little bit sooner. So this is a bit of a double buff. But of course, how much increase that attack projectile speed, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe you just start out with like 5%. that's probably a good place to start and see where it goes from there. She needs another buff, then you can do something else later. Jessie is another brawler who's had a similar effect as Pam, where she's kind of fallen off a little bit, and she doesn't really have a great win rate, use rate, whatever you want to say. So I think Jessie definitely needs a buff. I think there's two ways you can go. One, you either increase the reload speed or you increase the health. Something like that, 5 to 8%. I don't think you need to increase the damage because she already can do a good amount of damage when you're bouncing off shots, and don't really think you need to make the turret stronger, although you could, because that would help out her second star power, which is kind of mediocre. But I think 5 to 8% health increase or reload is probably a good thing. I know some people might think, Cory, Penny and Jessie are supposed to have the same amount of health, so we can't do that. Does it really need to be true? Like, I know they're similar brawlers, but I think it's okay if they have different amounts of health. So why don't we try? Last buff before we get into the nerfs, I think Crow kind of needs a buff. He's in a decent place right now, but he's not that great. I think you could do a small buff and he would be in a really good place, and he's a really fun brawler to play as well, although maybe not to play against. But that's besides the point. Just give him a health increase, in my opinion, and he can be a lot more aggressive. You can't really increase his damage, I think, because of Carry and Crow. He already can do a lot of damage, although only with one specific star power. He has a super fast reload speed, fast movement speed, and I wouldn't really want to make it supercharged faster, so that kind of leaves his health as the main thing left to buff, because you wouldn't want to do his range, attack projectile speed, so you're kind of left with his health. So let's do a 10% health buff. That's only like 300 health. A little more. Why not? Okay, now some of the most obvious balance changes needed, I think, are nerfs, right? There's some overpowered stuff in the game, and some of them even got nerfed last balance changes, and they're still overpowered. Like, you know, snappy sniping. Piper, probably the best brawler in the game right now, or one of the best brawlers at least, and only because of Snappy Sniper. Like, she was a bottom tier, bottom 5 brawler, and then Snappy Sniper was introduced, and she's now automatically top 5 brawler. And even with the nerfs, she's still a top 5 brawler. You gotta make it go from a 0.4 reload to a 0.3 every time you hit a shot. I think that's what you gotta do. That's what I kind of recommended originally before she even got nerfed, and I still think that's what's needed. It's just an amazingly good star power, and if you are good with Piper, it's kind of overpowered. So please, it needs another nerf. Now this one I think is an interesting nerf that a lot of people probably wouldn't see coming, but it's actually what is complained about the most by pro players, that they are sick of this star power and they think it needs to be nerfed or removed from the game. That's how bad they think it is. Maybe casual players probably don't think this. It's Curveball. Pros hate facing Curveball because you can't ever really dodge it. So that's the biggest thing with them. They think pretty much it's just way too strong as far as always getting hits. As long as you're within range of Curveball, it almost always seems to get a hit. So pros want either it removed from the game, or they want like less of a curve, so it has not quite as high of a chance of getting hit, at least at some point. Basically, you can't really dodge Curveball. Maybe this one isn't that needed, but it's definitely the most complained about for pros. Now, the other most broken star power in the game, this one is also really obvious, and it's gotta be Extra Life, right? Come on, it's completely broken in Solo Showdown, a little bit in Duo Showdown, although maybe not quite as much. But in Siege, you can, honestly, if you do it right, you can do a solo push and kill the whole Ike turret by yourself, as long as it's not defended and you have your super, and of course, you obviously didn't die, so you have your star power. You can actually take out the whole Ike turret by yourself. Obviously, that's a little bit broken. So, how do we fix this? Two ways. Either, of course, you can remove from the game, and well, then you need a new star power, but maybe that's honestly the best solution. The other thing is, if you can remove the invincibility upon respawn, then this star power is probably okay. I think it might be fine at that point. Probably not for good in 3v3, but who cares, right? It's already broken in specific places, so you got to do something. Now, maybe they can't code that into the game. That's possible. If they can't code that into the game, you probably should just remove it. I mean, I don't know how else to fix it, unless you have some sort of like, all right, you can't fire for 2 seconds, but that's super bad. So yeah. Another brawler that needs a nerf is BB. BB's been one of the best brawlers in the game for a really long time, and it's kind of just super hard to deal with on a consistent basis. She has too many good matchups. If you're using home run, there's not many situations where BB is ever really feeling that threatened. She can either knock you away if you're a tank in a bad matchup, or she has super fast move speed and she'll dodge your shots, or she'll use her health and speed to get behind a wall, and she'll just push you across the map. No matter what you think you want to do to BB, she's not going to let you do it because she's just too strong. Now, I think with BB, she has really high health, she has knockback, but the thing with her is I think close range brawlers should be a much worse matchup for BB. I think she does too much damage and she can take them out too easily. So I think you've got to give BB a damage nerf, about 10%, and I think she'd still be a good brawler even with that movement speed and knockback ability on BB is going to make her really good in specific situations no matter what. So please, give her some sort of nerf. She'll still be a good brawler. I think damage is the way to go. Now, one brawler got a buff last time that I think needs a nerf. And also maybe a bit of a rework as well, just because it would improve the game. And that's Tick. Okay, look. Tick, he's got the RNG on his throws, right? You never know where it's gonna land. First of all, this is obviously a bad thing. You never know if you're gonna hit your shots or not. There's no way you can argue that's a good thing, in my opinion. All right, so please make it a triangle pattern, right? You know what a triangle is? I hope you don't need me to understand that, right? Okay, triangle pattern. This is good for a couple reasons. One, his range is kind of insane for a thrower, and range on a thrower is a really toxic thing for a game because if there's ever a map where he's good at, you just can't overcome it. Because he throws over walls and you don't, and his range is really long, right? The longer the range, the easier it is for him to overpower you unless he just kind of sucks and misses all his shots. But if you do a triangle pattern, there's only one shot that's at his furthest point, so it's gonna be a little bit less range kind of. This is also good for Tick in a different way, because if a melee brawler or anyone is attacking him or chasing him and coming into his shots, they'll have to go through 2 mines. So I think this is doubly good, sort of a plus in a way for everyone. Also, please just reduce his range by half a tile. I think it's still needed. Check out other great ideas to improve Brawl Stars right over there that I know you'll enjoy. That is gonna be it for today's video though. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you later.